To transform a community, you have to have things that everyone can enjoy, and a trail is just that.
We want the trails to be active and not passive, provide an opportunity to de-stress so that people can connect to nature, they can improve their health, they can have some recreation that's not high cost, but that's high value.
The outdoors is who we are. We're always on the water, we're always on the rivers, we're always on the waterfront. The trail complements that way of life.
A lot of these towns, they get a real boost when these trails come in.
That means they're going to stay at those towns. That means they're going to eat at those towns. They might need to get their bike fixed at those towns. They might want to go shopping at those towns.
We are engaged with equitable development because there's lots of people who live here, who live close to the proposed trail, engage people across the many neighborhoods that this trail would cross. And we want to make sure that they benefit first, and also that this amenity doesn't displace the people in the community.
We want to work with Rails to Trails to make sure that the trails in our neighborhoods are connected to people in a real way.
Hello and welcome. I'm Ryan Chow, president of Rails to Trails Conservancy. It's just fantastic to see everyone here today from across the country and from so many different sectors. Thank you for being with us as we launch a groundbreaking new initiative, the TrailNation Collaborative. We're going to spend the next several hours exploring what it means to connect trail networks and how to get it done. And I can't think of a better way to set the tone for our conversation than that video, which captures so well the spirit of the cultural shift that is now underway. Just like the voices you heard in the video, elected officials, community leaders, advocates, planners, and residents are coming together, increasing the walkability and bikeability of the places they live. They recognize that by connecting their community's trails, sidewalks, and protected bike lanes to places people want to go, like their jobs, grocery stores, parks, schools, and transit, the impact of their investment will be magnified. They're developing plans to connect trails and active transportation infrastructure so that everyone in their communities can safely walk, bike, and be active outside. And they're leading with equity. They're building new relationships and connections in their communities so that everyone benefits from the economic, transportation, and quality of life opportunities that trail networks uniquely deliver. Like many of you, Rails to Trails has been working for decades to ensure that trails are valued as essential infrastructure. This work began more than 35 years ago, partnering with hundreds of community organizations across the country to preserve as many railroad corridors as trails as possible. Then the work expanded. We began seeding the idea that these trails could be leveraged into comprehensive networks, systems comparable to how roadways, railways, and other established forms of infrastructure are designed and developed. We started working with our partners to create model trail networks, proving that this approach was possible and that the impacts could be exponential. RTC's founders recognized early on the importance of a nationwide trail system. They saw that though the origins of this work were hyper-local, focused on preserving individual corridors, the potential was to connect these corridors into systems. As RTC co-founder Peter Harnick noted, only gradually did there emerge a realization that America desperately needs a national trail system, and that unused railroad corridors are the perfect backbone for that network. Today marks a pivotal milestone in these decades of work. There is momentum behind the vision of a nation connected by trails and urgency to unlock the benefits that only connected trail systems deliver. We've known for years that the need and demand for trails and trail networks far outpaces the supply. That phenomenon was accelerated by the pandemic. In 2020, trail use skyrocketed by 50%, growth the likes of which we've never seen before. In 2022, trail use continued to sustain at near peak pandemic rates, 45% higher than in 2019, and nearly 10% higher than in 2021. We're seeing that people are continuing to seek more places close to where they live to walk, bike, and be active outside. And they're making these activities part of their daily lives. At the same time, places across the country are actively pursuing trail networks in their communities. Over a decade ago, we asked partners to share their existing plans for trail and active transportation networks as part of our federal advocacy. Some of those had ideas they were cultivating. Others hadn't yet considered the idea of trail networks at all. Now, at this time, established and well-supported plans for trail networks exist in states all across the country, and communities want to accelerate those plans. Nationwide, the funding needed to build out these incredible collective visions exceeds $7 billion. $7 billion. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's clear that people want trail networks and that many places are ready to meet that demand. And with the recent passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, alongside other major federal, state, and local legislative wins, there is now unprecedented funding to accelerate the pace of trail network development nationwide. Together, the demand and the funding for trail networks puts us in a position we've never been in before, and one we must address with urgency. We need to capture this moment and capture the resources to unlock the potential of trails and active transportation, essential infrastructure for the nation. That's why we're here today, to come together to harness the power of trail networks for the people and the places we serve. And we're all in for a treat today. We have incredible leaders from across the country here to share their insights and ideas for developing and accelerating trail networks. Joining us are visionary elected officials, state and federal advocacy leaders, and national and local advocates working on inclusive access to the outdoors. Plus, we've saved a lot of time for discussion, including questions during each segment throughout the session and smaller breakout groups. We hope that everyone leaves feeling invigorated, so we all together can move more quickly to a future where trails connect everyone, everywhere. I'm now pleased to welcome Liz Thorstensen, RTC's Vice President of Trail Development. Hey, Liz. Liz is a thought leader behind, Liz is a thought leader behind TrailNation, RTC's nationwide initiative to prove what is possible when trail networks are at the heart of communities. The power of TrailNation has been in its emphasis on diverse people, places, and geographies, showcasing that this vision applies across communities, and that places with varying ideologies and politics can all agree that investment in trails are transformative. Liz, I'd say today is an exciting day. Would you agree?
Thanks, Ryan. It really is. This is a once in a generation moment, and I'm so excited to be here with all of you. Thanks so much for coming. Through RTC's TrailNation initiative, we work with hundreds of partners across the country who have plans to leverage trails, walking, and biking to unlock equitable access to transportation, recreation, and economic opportunity in their communities. Our partners, many who are with us today, alongside everyone they're working with in their regions and neighborhoods, envision a future where trail networks are embraced as fundamental, critical to creating joyful, vibrant places where people want to live, work, and play. The momentum we have right now to carry our shared vision forward is paramount, but this moment didn't emerge overnight. It's the result of decades of hard-fought advocacy for federal, state, and local funding. It's because of the tireless grit and tenacity of the multi-use trail and active transportation community that has built the nation's trails. And it's because of our collective ingenuity to imagine what's possible when trails connect people and places in ways like never before. Advocacy, grit, ingenuity, these are the underpinnings of TrailNation, RTC's nationwide program designed to accelerate the development of connected trail networks by bringing together model projects, leaders, champions, best practices, and resources. The roots of this work are in establishing powerful coalitions and partnerships with many of you, proving what's possible when big ideas and teams of people with a shared vision are pushing for the investments and the infrastructure that can transform places. Together, we are collectively moving the needle to envision, plan, organize, fund, and activate trail networks. Like in Greater Philadelphia and Southern New Jersey, where the idea for the circuit trails was introduced by local leaders who saw the potential to connect trails across the country and state, across county and state lines, linking urban, suburban, and rural communities. One of the first trail systems in the country, the circuit is now nearly halfway done, a testament to the power of collaboration across jurisdictions and an inspiration for other fledgling trail networks to follow. The Monon Trail, which links Indianapolis with its surrounding suburbs, often comes to mind when we think about trail-oriented development. In Carmel, Indiana, the trail is an anchor in the town's economic development strategy. When the trail first connected into Carmel decades ago, it laid the groundwork for a downtown revitalization plan that has been transformative, bringing a quality of life for residents that has placed Carmel on lists of best places to live while generating over $500 million in development investment. Carmel has also spearheaded proactive planning practices by standardly adding multi-use trails on either side of arterial streets whenever they get upgraded or added. And Minneapolis, home to the Midtown Greenway, is an example of what's possible with investment and innovation that leads to institutional and cultural change. It was one of 4 pilot communities that was a part of a 2005 initiative designed in partnership with the Federal Highway Administration and RTC. $25 million were invested in each community to test the role of connected trail infrastructure in encouraging people to choose walking and biking and trails as transportation. As a result, the number of bicycle and walking trips increased significantly, and 85 million miles of driving was averted, demonstrating in concrete terms the power of connectivity. And in Washington state, we can see how collective action and a grand national vision can make major active transportation infrastructure projects possible, like the Beverly Bridge across the Columbia River. With the potential to become a destination in and of itself, the bridge will help promote long-distance walking and bicycling trips along the Palouse to Cascades Trail, part of the cross-country Great American Rail Trail. This was a long-standing vision for many advocates and leaders in the state, and it took a statewide multi-agency effort to complete, with a final push across the finish line because of its role in providing a major missing connection for the 3,700-mile cross-country trail. Trail networks are being developed in many states alongside RTC's existing TrailNation projects that are connecting millions of people and more than 10,000 miles of trail. The best practices and lessons gleaned from these projects will help others to accelerate trail networks in their communities. The results of this work speak volumes. We've been able to move the needle between people thinking that trails are nice to have amenities to need to have essential infrastructure for their communities. A decade ago, when TrailNation launched, trail networks were beginning to emerge and the concept was catching on. Rail trails could be found in every state, and multi-use trails had become a staple for recreation. Those recreational amenities serve as the foundation for connected trail systems. The return on investment from closing gaps between trails and other active transportation infrastructure is profound. Imagine leaving your home and taking the sidewalk to a nearby trailhead. A quick 15-minute walk has your heart pumping and your mind clear as you breathe in the fresh air, waving to your neighbors, and taking in your community. Wherever you're headed, the experience is the same. It's easy to get where you're going without a car. You're not interacting with traffic, and you feel safe. At the outset of TrailNation, our goal was to prove that this experience was possible by creating a collection of world-class projects that the sector could learn from and then replicate. Now, with trail user demand higher than ever, over $7 billion worth of project plans in hand, and this work taking root in so many places, we have an even more ambitious goal: that trail networks and all they deliver are at the forefront of how communities prioritize resources to grow and sustain their competitive advantage. We know the power of trail networks. They're carrying communities over the tipping point. That's because as trails are connected, the benefits they provide are magnified. For example, as trail connectivity improves, trail use increases dramatically, as much as 80%, which is key to unlocking all of the other economic and quality of life benefits that trails deliver, like expanding transportation and recreation options. Trail networks make it safer and easier for people to walk and bike as part of their daily lives, which is especially critical in the nation's lowest income neighborhoods where pedestrian fatalities are highest. They also contribute significantly to economic competitiveness. As trail systems grow, they spark new investment in trailside businesses and commercial opportunities that strengthen America's main streets. The transportation, safety, health, and economic benefits of trail networks, alongside their role in contributing to environmental resiliency, demonstrates their value as essential infrastructure in America. Yet, access to this infrastructure and the benefits it offers is highly inequitable. When we meet people where they are, recognize disparities, and address existing needs in the community, we can create trail networks that are equitable and inclusive. Equitable development is realized when people have the power to decide whether they want trails, they can access the appropriate resources to do so, and they can actively participate in the planning and programming of those trails. We know that walkable and bicycle-friendly communities connected by trails are in high demand, but their supply in the US is currently limited. Towns, cities, regions, and states are grappling with complex challenges rooted in transportation, climate, and the well-being of the people they serve. How places are designed and whether they are safe and convenient for people to walk, bike, and be active outside can make all the difference. That's the motivation behind TrailNation. The TrailNation project served as the launchpad of this initiative and the instigators for trail network development across the country. The TrailNation Playbook is a compendium of best practices, tools, and resources to support communities in doing this work. And today, we introduce the TrailNation Collaborative, a learning community where we will come together to share our experiences, our challenges, and our strategies for accelerating the pace of connecting trails and active transportation infrastructure across the country. The power of this collaborative is in all of you. The magic of this work happens when teams come together across sectors and from different lived experiences to envision how their community can best serve everyone who lives there. So we opened a little poll at the very beginning that I think many of you have taken. Let's just pause for a minute and let's take stock and share who's here, who's part of this collaborative today. So I'm not unexpected. We have a really great showing from the Trails Active Transportation and Transportation Professionals at about 65%. And I know many of you are in the advocacy and volunteer space. So we hope that you clicked that, we include you in that category. So we know that we're so happy to have you here and so thrilled that we have other folks from important sectors like economic development, community development, elected officials, public health, developers and real estates, and our philanthropic partners. You all are so important and we want to keep engaging with you. We need you in this space. So thank you so much for being here.